Hello, everyone. It looks like we are live. There's a lot going on right now in life, in the transits, in our soul evolution. I know so many of us are going through the shit right now. We're going through the shit. So many of us are having identity crises. So many of us are burnt out. We're wondering, what are we supposed to be doing? And 2025 I coined as the year of transition, and I know a lot of astrologers and human design specialists are calling it the year of transition, and for good reason. And March is where it gets really spicy. It gets really, really spicy. We got a lot going on in March. And I have been tuning out to the world. I haven't been on social media. I'm not consuming. I do go on YouTube to follow my own favorite astrologers and human design specialists, but really tuning in more than like tuning in here, right? Really listening in here rather than what's playing out in the cosmos, because what's playing out is honestly old news. And when we can wrap our mind around that, we can start seeing how everything that is playing out right now is very old news, and we can be quite reactive to that. And I wanted to talk today because it is a new moon in Pisces, and Neptune is the ruler, right? The ruling planet. And so this is something that I'm talking with my hive mind, the mastermind, the year-long mastermind that I've created. I'm so grateful for the women in the mastermind, and we are opening the doors again in March. And what we're discussing this tonight is we're talking about where Neptune is in our human design charts, what Neptune means in our human design chart, where Neptune is in our astrology chart, what it means in our astrology through the house system. And then we bring it all together to tell a fuller story. I always, this is something that's been really dropping in and it's come to like cement within me, is that your passion is your purpose, right? Whether you are a manifesting generator, a generator, doesn't matter your type, your passion is your purpose, right? What you have energy for, what lights you up, what you're interested in, what you're nerding out on, what you're sharing with others, right? That is your passion. You're not going to find that in your human design chart, okay? Your passion, what lights you up, what interests you, is your purpose. Human design is how that passion and that purpose moves through your body, right? We can start tuning in to not only just the chart, but listening to our body. And our body gives us feedback. Is this right? Is this not? Human design is an experiment. So, human design teaches us how I get to play with my passion, how I share my passion, how the lessons and the blessings, how life moves through me. Astrology is the when, right? Astrology is connected to the divine timing. And so when we can put this all together, we can start seeing the cycles in our lives. We can start playing with divine timing, as much as it is deeply, deeply intuitive. Sometimes we're like, oh, why am I all of a sudden following this? And there may be a clue in the transits. This might be your next level growth, right? Or this might be a lesson for you that you're growing from. And so in March 2025, Neptune is moving from Pisces, where it's been since 2011, and it's taking a sneak peek into Aries. And it hasn't been in Aries, and I'm going to find the numbers here right away. It hasn't been in Aries since the late 1800s, right? It is approximately, let me just see how long Neptune generally is here. Like Neptune is a large cycle, right? It's not as large as Pluto, but historically, the last time that Neptune was in Pisces, for instance, was 1847 to 1862, right? So during that time, when Neptune was in Pisces, there was a surge in spiritualism, right? But it was gaining popularity in mediumship, right? Seances and mediumships and channeling. So we were channeling the seat of consciousness, the collective consciousness, and we were bringing it in within ourselves and we were sharing it with others. Really, really interesting. What also was happening at this time, because Pisces and Neptune is also connected to escapism. Like, let's be real. This is where drugs are, right? This is where numbing happens. This is where I would way rather live in the ethers, in the clouds, than putting my feet on the ground. So now let's check Neptune's cycle here. So, right, Neptune takes about 165 years to complete a cycle, right? To complete a full orbit around the sun. That's how we determine a cycle, a planetary cycle. And so it spends around about 13 or 14 years in each zodiac sign. So, as I said, Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011. Now, let's look at what is going on since 2011. We've seen a really big surge in spirituality, in what we call quote unquote new age spirituality, right? Anything that is not mainstream is considered a cult or a different culture, right? So we have seen this rise of spirituality. And since 2011, we've seen a rise in shamanism. We've seen a rise in astrology and human design. We've seen a rise of the ascended masters and goddesses, right? All that belongs in the seat of consciousness, the ethers, you know, up in the clouds there, has been kind of landing in with us, right? And we've been playing with it. We've been experiencing, we've been channeling it in, because Neptune loves to be in Pisces, because Neptune, like, that's the ruling planet. But now Neptune is going into Aries. And Neptune is not comfortable in Aries, right? Neptune is sea, it's water, right? And so Neptune going into Aries, it's going to have a different flavor. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac wheel, right? The whole zodiac wheel. So if you're in Aries, it's fire. It's like that 2-year-old. It's like that, I want to go. I want to pioneer. I want to start something new. I'm lit up. I'm fired up. Let's go. And my guides have been talking to me about, like, this is where we're going to see the rise of the soulpreneur. And this is something that I'm very passionate about, is the rise of the soulpreneur. With Pluto in Aquarius, we're seeing the digital age, right? We're seeing the online businesses. We're seeing what can happen with technology. And then we're going to pair that with, well, what kind of businesses are we going to be pioneering? And for many of us, it's going to be connected to our soul. It's going to be connected to our energy, our passion, right? We're going to marry our passion and our spirituality. Many of us are going to perhaps create businesses, right? If you're following me, you're probably a soulpreneur or an entrepreneur of some sort. Really wanting to connect to your energy, to your soul, to the way that you use your intuition, and using that in your business and in your life. So we're going to see this rise of the soulpreneur. And so let's look back at the last time that Neptune was in Aries. And so I did just like a quick little research on that this morning, because I like to look at looking at the lessons and the blessings of the past, because history doesn't repeat, history rhymes. So while Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011, we have seen a rise in spirituality, but we've also seen a rise of drug addiction. Right, we have seen so much new drugs out on the streets. Right, I work in mental health and addiction, so I've definitely seen a rise in not only addiction but also mental health. Right, mental health issues, and so it's been really really fascinating to be a part of this and to observe this as an observer. But the last time that Neptune was in Aries, let's just go down here really quick. Okay, so for instance, last time that Neptune was in Aries was in between 1861 and 1875. So during this time, interesting enough, was the American Civil War. And this is kind of something that, we're really seeing right now, especially in the States, this huge divide. So the United States was in a brutal conflict over slavery and state rights. Slavery and state rights. I'm going to go on a tangent here right now because I've been learning a lot about money in the last, I don't know, honestly, last 5 years, but really diving into what money is. And interesting enough, working for a job was cheaper for they found that when we had slavery, you were responsible for the slaves. You had to house them, you had to feed them, you had to take care of them, whether you did it in a good way or not so good way, right? But you were responsible for those slaves. It was really expensive. And so what they found was, well, if we pay them a wage, we're no longer responsible for their housing. We're no longer responsible for their care. We're no longer responsible for a lot of things, right? They're on their own. We pay them a wage. And then this is the kind of like a new form of slavery, right? You are a slave to your job. You're a slave to the money that your job provides. And so we're going to see a big shift in that wake up of what that really means to us. And I don't want to get too deep into that, but I found that really fascinating was when I was learning a lot more about money and how it's tied to a debt system and all of the things. It really had me thinking of why being a solopreneur is so important for us right now, that we become sovereign in our wealth, and we become sovereign in the way that we choose for ourselves, because a lot of people don't have a choice right now. They have to work, multiple jobs just to pay for rent, just to pay for food, right? All the things. The other thing that the American Civil War was fighting about was state rights, right? And we're seeing this play out again, right? We're seeing this play out once again, the right to choose, the right to bear arms, the right to speak, right? We're seeing these from state to state being very, very different, and a conflict between this. So the war started on April 12th, 1861, and Neptune entered Aries the very next day, right? So very, very fascinating, seeing the connection of the astrology and what was happening in the world. Another really cool thing that happened when Neptune moved into Aries was the unification movement in Europe, where countries like Germany and Italy started to try to come together to build nation building energies, right? Once again, we are seeing this in the world. We're seeing this in the world. Uh, like we're seeing this like NATO versus BRICS and different nations coming together, and some nations breaking apart from these bigger organizations and joining new ones. And so we're going to see the fluidity of state lines. We're going to see the fluidity of country lines. And so, really pairing this in with Aquarius in or Pluto in Aquarius, seeing how yeah, we're no longer, and we're like, what I get is we're no longer tied to our bloodlines, right? We choose our soul family, or our fractals. We choose who it is that we want to be in our family, right? We choose that. And now what I'm feeling is like the soul connection to other people, and they may not be in your community, they may not be in your family. And so these new energetic ley lines could be connected with the internet, right? It could be connected through consciousness, because anything that is connected through consciousness, we bring it into manifestation, and it shows up lately through tech, right? Through science, through new innovations. And so with Neptune moving into Aries, we're going to see new innovations in the way that we share, the way that we practice spirituality, the way that we starting to come together in collectives a little bit more. And we're going to be seeing how that plays out. So, once again, very, very fascinating. And once again, what I'm seeing is bringing in that Pluto in Aquarius theme. Drugs may be something very different. We're already seeing so many people addicted to the dopamine rush of social media swiping, right? Of playing online gambling, so much online gambling. Um, and so we are going to see digital drugs come online. Whether this is through binaural beats, whether this is through isotramp, what's the word? Beats, tones, things moving through the waves, right? Things moving through the internet waves, through these towers, misinformation. It's gonna be fascinating to see how this is going to play out in the next, honestly, 20 to 30 years, because I'm already starting to get guidance as to when Pluto moves into Pisces in 2024ish, around there, right? And so once again, when we see Pluto and Neptune both being really fired up, it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. But let's talk about where Neptune is in your human design chart. I got a channeling, geez, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, where it was telling me that our personal planets, right, our sun, our earth, our Mercury, our Venus, our Mars, they are personal to us, right? They are within our lives. They're personal to us. Then we move into the transpersonal, the relationships energy, which would be Saturn and Jupiter. And so when we learn the lessons, when we gain the wisdom of our personal planets, we learn who it is that we are. We know, like, and trust ourselves. Then we start getting the lessons from the blessings, right? When it's set in foundation, when it's our foundation. But then we have Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, and you can go into Chiron, and you can go into Black Moon Lilith, and any other asteroid, going further of our psyche. I got the channeling that when we hit a certain age, around 40, 44, this is when we move through our Uranus opposition. This is when we've built a foundation of know, like, and trust within ourselves. We get to move into the generational planets. We get to use those generational planets a lot more in our businesses and our lives. And so, what I was getting into was like Uranus becomes how it is that you're unique. right? Once you've gained the I say mastery, but mastery means like when you start understanding who it is that you are, you can start fine tuning that through your Uranus, what makes you unique. And then from there, we move into Neptune, which is your spiritual purpose and the way that you communicate your spiritual purpose through the collective consciousness, through the seat of consciousness. Whether this is something that you do in meditation, whether this is just a vibe that you're sharing, whether it is that you are taking these spiritual lessons and you're sharing it out into the world. And then Pluto is something that it's a generation that you are here to shift, right? You are here to shift with your generation. So for instance, my Pluto is in Scorpio, in Libra, right? My Pluto's in gate 57, right? So intuitive, seeing into the future, the way that we are going to be sharing that, the way that we're going to be seeing that, whether that's remote viewing, whether that's through meditation, whether that's through I can't remember that movie, but there's a movie where these beings were laying in air, were in water, and they were able to see when a crime was going to be committed, right? Using these human tech that we all have available within us. We just need to learn how to use it, right? Tap into that. So when we start moving into our generational energy, we can start fine tuning ourselves and what our legacy, and I called them legacy planets a few years ago, and we start getting to move into that. Wow, this is quite the rabbit hole, hey guys. So I want you to look at your own chart today. And like I said, this is something that we're doing in the hive mind. This is something that we're going to be learning about ourselves a little bit more. We're going to be diving into our Neptune, where it is in our human design chart. So for instance, let's take a look at mine here. My Neptune is in Sagittarius. Now, and it's also in my 12th house. And so Neptune in my 12th house, ding, 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 they connect very well together. And then Sagittarius is all about higher learning, publication, adventure, spiritual and philosophy practices, right? And so very, very, very in tune and connected with that. And my Neptune is in the gate 26.1 in my defined will center. So this is mine. And gate 26 is all about being in integrity, right? Being in integrity with yourself so that you are sharing with integrity. On the unconscious side, in the red side, it's 5.4. So it's connected to rituals and routines and habits, and I like to see it as what we do on the daily, right? Like, what is it that I do to support myself on the daily? And so this is where, I share lots are these rituals and these routines, and this is how I support my body in my spiritual practices. So in human design, it's 26 in my defined, it's 5.4 in my undefined sacral. So go look at your chart and do that inner work within yourself. How are you connected to your Neptune? Are you connected to your Neptune? Are you connected to the way that you share, the way that you connect to the seat of consciousness, and how that plays out in your life? And then when you reflect on your astrology, what sign is it in, right? Mine's in Sagittarius. What house is it in? Mine's in my 12th house. And starting to look at those connections and how you can tell a fuller story about yourself. And then we can use timing as to, okay, Neptune is moving into Aries. Well, what's going on, like Aries, what house is Aries in? What's going on in that part of your life, right? So for me, for example, Aries is connected to my 4th house. So this is my health and home. This is like, once again, like I can't make this up, it's connected to the moon. And so very, very feminine energy, very, very connected to my spirituality is really moving into my home now. And it's really building a foundation in my home, and it's the way that I you know, the fourth house is your mother, it's connected to your home, your family, all those things. And so I'm going to be really interested to see how that plays out in my own life. But you may be interested to look at your own chart and see how that plays out. Now, if this is like, what the hell, Tammy, are you even talking about? No problem. If you're like, oh my gosh, I need to know more about this, book a call. Book a call. If you want to take the journey with us, where we're doing an entire year of deep diving into every astrological sign, every house, every human design gate, every aspect within yourself in an entire year. And why would you want to do that? Because the more that you know, like, and trust yourself, the more that you don't need outside recognition as much. You don't need to be asking other people. You're in tune to yourself, and you start listening to yourself instead of what everyone else, because it's noisy and it's going to get noisy. You're going to start understanding your own cycles of growth, and you're going to understand what your passion is, how it's designed to move through your body, and when it is time to be showing up in your life, and when it's time to launch, and when it's time to take space for yourself. And doing this in a group of women who are learning with you as well really gets me so excited, because we all have a different way of moving through this, whether you're a mental projector, whether you're a manifesting generator, right? We all have a different flavor, a different understanding, a different perspective, and we all share our different and unique perspectives. So I think I'm going to end that there. That was a lot. That was a lot. So, new moon in Pisces. This is a water sign. Go do a water ritual. I live on the prairies. It's warming up. There's a lot of puddles. I might go jump in some puddles today. Probably go have a nice hot bath, and set up for the evening group with my mastermind that I love you guys so much. And yeah, let me know how you're feeling. Let me know if this Pisces new moon is affecting you in any way. Let me know if you feel that you're in the middle of a transition right now and you're like kind of lost in the funk of it all. Okay, so I really truly want to hear from all of you guys. I love you so much, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.